While adding the final touches to my Christmas card, I gazed out at the gray winter sky unfolding beyond the window. This year was supposed to be different. This year, my family was finally supposed to see me for who I really am. At least, that was what I had wanted to believe. My eyes drifted to the family photo hung on the wall of my study, my parents, Frank and Dorothy, my brother William and his wife Madison, and their children. I was nowhere to be seen in that photo. As usual, I was behind the camera, hidden in the shadows. Now, having reached the age of 45, I have carved out a successful niche for myself as a graphic designer. My studio, Harrison Imagination, located in the heart of downtown New York, has garnered widespread respect, and my design work enjoys national recognition. Despite the confidence that my professional life instills in me, when I am around my family, I often revert to feeling like an insecure 15-year-old girl. Within the dynamics of my family, William has always been the golden child. Throughout high school, he shone as the star football player, he ascended to fraternity president in college, and he has now established himself as a successful insurance broker. My parents have always called him the golden boy, proudly boasting about his successes. In contrast, my artistic talents and sensibilities were merely acknowledged as a hobby. Design is just something to tide you over until you get a real job, my mother would often say. You should aim for a stable career like William has managed to secure. I had dedicated months to planning the Christmas celebration. Handmade decorations, a scrapbook of memories, a menu replicating our parents' favorite dishes. I paid attention to every detail, striving to create the perfect setting. It was my chance to be recognized by my parents, a chance to show them my love and talents. On Christmas Eve afternoon, I was baking cookies in my apartment's kitchen. The sweet scent of cinnamon and vanilla filled the air as I hummed and rolled the dough. My phone rang, and I smiled when I saw Mom on the display. "Mom, I'm just baking cookies for tomorrow's party," I said cheerfully. On the other end, my mother cleared her throat hesitantly. "Jocelyn, I have some bad news," she said. "We have to cancel tomorrow's party." I stopped my hands. "What? Why?" "Your father has caught a cold, he's got a terrible cough," my mother explained. "We don't want to spread it to everyone, so we've decided to postpone it a bit." I felt my chest tightening. Months of planning went down the drain. "That's unfortunate," I said. "But it's okay, I'll come over to check on Dad. I'll bring whatever he needs." "No, you don't need to do that," my mother said quickly. "Your dad needs his rest. Let's all get together after Christmas." After hanging up, I took the cookies out of the oven and placed them on a cooling rack. Something was off. My father rarely got sick. And my parents' house was only a 15 minutes drive from my apartment. That night, I was restless. I picked up my phone several times, debating whether to call my father. Eventually, I decided to go check on him on Christmas morning. I woke up early on Christmas morning. I prepared a basket with medicine, soup, and freshly baked cookies. As I was driving over, I began to worry about my father's condition. If he was really ill, perhaps he should see a doctor. As I turned onto my parents' street, I was surprised. Several cars were parked in front of the house. A big red SUV, William's car, was the first thing I noticed. Next to it was Madison's new Mercedes. A few other unfamiliar cars were also parked. I parked my car on the curb and grabbed the basket. As I approached the house, music and laughter could be heard from inside. I stopped and listened. It was unmistakably the sound of a celebration. I put my hand on the doorknob but couldn't bring myself to turn it. Instead, I quietly moved closer to the living room window and peeked through a gap in the curtains. The scene inside froze my heart. My entire family, my parents, William and Madison, and their kids, were gathered in the living room, enjoying themselves around the Christmas tree. Faces of other relatives and friends were also visible. The table was laden with a lavish meal, and the room was decorated with the ornaments I had made. But what shocked me the most was the sight of my father. He was sitting on the sofa, laughing with a glass in his hand. There was no sign of a cold. He looked completely healthy. A pain shot through my chest. They had lied to me. They intentionally excluded me. My hands began to tremble. I placed the basket on the ground and pulled out my cellular phone. I needed evidence. So, I took several photos, through the window, capturing images of my smiling family. Afterward, I quietly returned to my car. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel. On the drive back to my apartment, I desperately tried to hold back my tears. As I opened the door and entered, I finally broke down. Sitting on the floor, I cried for hours. On Christmas night, I finally gathered myself and opened Instagram. Madison's latest post caught my eye. Accompanied by the hashtags #HarrisonFamilyChristmas and #FamilyTraditions. It was a photo of the entire family gathered around the dining table, toasting with smiles. The best Christmas ever. Celebrating our parents' 50th anniversary together was the best. Read the caption. I zoomed in on the photo. The party I had planned for months. The centerpiece I had chosen, the menu cards I had designed, the Christmas banner I had made. All of it was my idea. Yet, I was nowhere to be seen. Anger and sadness swirled within me. I took a screenshot of the photo. The next day, I resolved to confront my parents and headed to their house. When I knocked, my mother answered the door. Jocelyn. Surprise was evident on her face. I thought you weren't coming today. Well, I wasn't invited yesterday, I said coldly. As I entered the living room, there were William and Madison, along with their children. From Madison's post, I knew they had stayed over after yesterday's Christmas party. Jocelyn. My father stood up and tried to approach me. How are you feeling? I asked sarcastically. Is the cold better? My father looked confused. What are you talking about? This. I placed the photos I had taken on the table so they were visible. Yesterday's Christmas party. Mom told me that Dad was sick with a cold. You all have excluded me intentionally from the party I had planned for months. The room fell silent. William cleared his throat and told the children to go play outside. Jocelyn, it's complicated, he said. Complicated? I laughed. What's so complicated? You just didn't want to invite me, did you? That's not it. My mother quickly said. Just that. You're alone, and everyone else came with their families. Am I not family? My voice trembled. Or is family just William and his family? I'm always a secondary character, always an afterthought. My art is just a hobby, and only William's job matters. My success is ignored, while only William's success is celebrated. Jocelyn, calm down. My father said. You always get too emotional. Emotional? I trembled with anger. For 45 years, I've tried to be acknowledged by you. I'm successful as a graphic designer. My designs are recognized nationwide. But you've never really seen me. You've never once been proud of me. That's not true. My mother exclaimed. Of course, we're proud of you. Then why did you exclude me from the party? Why did you lie? William stood up and approached me. Jocelyn, stop making everything about yourself. Like Mom said, everyone came with their families, and you're alone. So I wasn't invited because I'm alone. Is that the real reason? Because I'm not married, because I don't have a family, I don't exist. Jocelyn. My father said, looking exhausted. Let's just stop this. You're always like this. You take everything too personally. Personal? Yes, this is personal. I shouted. I am your daughter. I'm supposed to be part of this family too. Of course, you are. My mother said soothingly. You are our daughter. But you have always followed your own path. You chose a different life than ours. I pursued a career. Is that wrong? William is also pursuing a career. He is the golden boy. What am I? Just a shadow? Jocelyn, let's end this conversation. My father stood up. This is just a misunderstanding. We love you. But if you're going to get this emotional, I have every right to be emotional. I said. I've spent years trying to be recognized by you. But it's over now. Enough is enough. I'm done seeking your love or approval. We're still family, aren't we? My mother asked worriedly. Family? I stared at her. Family is supposed to support, love, and respect each other. You never treated me that way. I headed for the door. Jocelyn, wait. William called out. If you leave like this, you'll regret it. I turned back and looked at him. No, William. The only thing I regret is not leaving this place sooner. I opened the door and stepped outside. Snow was quietly beginning to fall. Without looking back, I walked to my car. This was not the end but a new beginning. For 45 years, I had sought the love and approval of my family. But now, it was time to love and recognize my own worth. And ultimately, that was the answer to everything. It felt like decades of accumulated pain were suddenly released. While organizing documents in my apartment, I remembered something shocking. Among a stack of old papers, I found the house mortgage documents taken out in my name. The address on the house mortgage was my parents' house. Confused, I called the bank and checked the tax records. Right after I graduated from college, my parents had said, "We'll take out the house mortgage in your name to help build your credit score, and we'll make the monthly payments." At the time, I had signed without fully understanding the details. My parents did indeed make the monthly house mortgage payments and paid the property taxes. However, everything was done in my name, and legally, the house was entirely mine. My parents had used my good credit score to secure favorable interest rates but never told me that the house ownership was in my name. So, legally, the house is mine, I muttered. Further investigation revealed that several credit cards and bank accounts were also opened in my name. My identity had been used. This is a serious issue, said the lawyer Edward Collins, carefully examining the documents. Your parents have been conducting financial activities under your name without your consent. This could constitute identity theft and financial fraud. What should I do? I asked, my hands trembling. First, we need to gather all the evidence, Edward said. Then, you need to decide whether to take legal action. You have several options. You could file criminal charges or initiate a civil lawsuit. Or, you could simply claim ownership of the house. I thought for a long time. I didn't want to punish my parents, but I felt that their actions should have some consequences. I want to sell the house, I finally said. And I want to close all the accounts they opened in my name. Over the next few weeks, my lawyer and I worked with a real estate firm to proceed with selling the house. We also conducted a detailed financial investigation, revealing all transactions made in my name by my parents. When the notice of the house sale reached my parents, they were furious, as expected. My phone was inundated with angry messages. I ignored most of them, but finally, I answered a direct call from my mother. "What are you trying to do?" she asked, crying. "You're going to sell our house?" "It's my house, Mom. The house you bought using my name. But you agreed to it years ago, when you graduated from college. But that was just the beginning of you opening accounts in my name without my consent." I raised my voice. "You used my identity without my permission. That's fraud. Jocelyn, please." My father's voice cut through the phone. It lacked its usual authority, now mixed with fear and pleading. "Please don't kick us out of the house. We have nowhere else to go." He stumbled over his words, his voice trembling. "It was wrong to use your name. But we did it thinking it was for the family, for your future." "My future? You never once thought about my future." "I am an old man, Jocelyn." My father's voice dropped to a whisper. "Please don't end my life like this. Give me another chance." "It's too late, Dad," I said. "The lawyer has already prepared all the documents. The house will be sold. And all the accounts you opened in my name will be closed. Why are you doing this? Why are you punishing us? Why?" I scoffed. "Why did you exclude me from the Christmas party? Why did you steal my plans and lie to me? Why have you always put me last?" "That's different," my mother exclaimed. "You're just too sensitive. We just forgot to invite you." "Forgot?" I trembled with anger. "Don't lie, Mom. You told me the story about the cold to intentionally exclude me. And now, you're lying again after being caught using my identity. Are you going to sue us?" my father asked, his voice filled with fear. "No. I'm just reclaiming what's mine. My name and my identity. I'm giving you 1 month to leave the house." After hanging up, I took a deep breath. I was shaking, but not from fear, it was a sense of liberation. For the first time, I stood up for myself. The next day, William showed up at my apartment. He was furious. "How could you do this?" he shouted, banging on the door. "Mom and Dad need that house. Where are they supposed to live now?" I did not open the door. Instead, I spoke through the intercom. "William, go home. Let your family live with you." "I can't afford that," he yelled. "That's not my problem. You've ignored me for years. And now, you need my help." How ironic. William didn't leave. He continued shouting outside my door for hours. Eventually, I had to call the police. William was warned and left, but he kept coming back. I was forced to get a restraining order. As the house sale proceedings progressed, the full extent of my parents' financial fraud was revealed. They had opened several credit cards in my name, racking up tens of thousands of dollars in debt. They had also opened investment accounts in my name. Following my lawyer's advice, I formally reported them to the police. Weeks later, a small article appeared in the local newspaper. Local couple arrested for identity theft and financial fraud. My parents were given a 5-year suspended sentence and faced substantial fines. They lost the house and most of their retirement savings. After reading the article, I stared out the window for a long time. There was no sense of victory, just a strange emptiness. I never wanted to hurt my parents. All I wanted was to be acknowledged, loved, and treated as part of the family. But that was not given to me. My phone rang, and a message from my project manager popped up. The client in Milan loved the presentation for the new brand identity. They want the contract. Congratulations, Jocelyn. I smiled. At least in my work, my talents and worth were recognized. The public exposure of the financial fraud committed by my parents using my name legally impacted William's work and social standing as well. The profession of an insurance broker is fundamentally based on trust from clients. Therefore, even a small local newspaper article titled "Local Couple Arrested for Identity Theft and Financial Fraud" caused a significant stir within the community. As the news spread among clients and business partners, William, labeled as the son of fraudsters, found himself losing contracts one after another, and acquiring new clients became increasingly difficult. The former golden boy was now facing severe financial difficulties. Several months later, I was planning a solo trip to Italy. I had meetings scheduled with new clients in Milan, followed by a week-long vacation in Rome and Florence. This had been a long-held dream of mine. The day before my departure, I received an unexpected visit from Catherine, an old family friend. "I thought you should know about your parents," Catherine said. "They're now living in a small apartment in the suburbs. Your father has found work as a night security guard, and your mother is working as a cashier at a supermarket. William tried to help them, but he's financially struggling himself." I listened with a stoic expression. "And? They really regret what happened. They want to see you." "I don't want to see them," I stated firmly. "They ignored me for years, stole my identity, and now they regret it." "That's not true regret, it's merely regret for the consequences of their actions." "But they're your family," Catherine pleaded. "Not anymore. Family is more than just blood relations. Family is about supporting, loving, and respecting each other. They never treated me that way." Catherine nodded sadly. "I hope you change your mind," she said before leaving. My time in Italy was revelatory. The business meetings in Milan were a huge success, and my design studio secured international clients. In Rome, I visited the Colosseum and explored the ancient ruins of the Forum Romanum. I felt free. Freed from the pressures of familial expectations and criticisms, I was living my life on my terms. When I returned to my hotel, I opened my laptop to check my work emails. Among them, I found a message from an unfamiliar sender, labeled FD Harrison, but I quickly realized it was from my parents. "Dear Jocelyn, we don't expect you to read this, but we had to write. We are your parents. Now, we are suffering. Your actions have destroyed our lives. You took away our dignity and our property. For years, we loved you. We supported you, paid for your education, and helped you chase your dream of becoming a designer. And you betrayed us. We hope that one day, you will realize the gravity of what you have done and regret it. By then, it might be too late. Frank and Dorothy Harrison." I scoffed. My parents still thought they were the victims. I deleted the email without replying. That night, while sitting on the hotel balcony and sipping wine, I thought about my relationship with my family. Warm childhood memories surfaced, days when my father pushed me on the swing, my mother hung my first painting on the refrigerator, and William taught me how to ride a bike. But these good memories were overshadowed by more painful ones. My parents ignoring my win at an art contest, no family showing up at my college graduation, and my mother asking when I would get a real job after I landed my first major design job. And more recently, the exclusion from the Christmas party and the discovery of financial fraud. I reminded myself, they don't deserve my love or loyalty. Days later, another email arrived, this time from William. "Jocelyn, do you know how miserable Mom and Dad are now? Their lives are ruined. All because of a selfish woman angry about not being invited to a party. You destroyed the family. We will never forgive you. William. I deleted this email too. They still didn't understand. It wasn't just about the party. It was about the entirety of my life and how they had treated me over the years. After returning from Italy, I decided to move to a new apartment for a fresh start. My previous apartment was filled with memories of my family. The new place was closer to my design studio and more spacious. I also changed my phone number and email address. I wanted to cut all ties with the past. In the new apartment, I began to form new relationships. I grew particularly close to Antonio, the art director at my studio, and eventually, our relationship turned romantic. Antonio didn't ask about my past, he cherished my present and my future. My career continued to soar. The success in Milan led my studio to acquire more international clients. I became recognized as one of the most influential women in the design industry and started mentoring young designers. My life had taken a path vastly different from what I had imagined as a child. It was sometimes lonely, and sometimes painful. But it was mine, crafted on my own terms, my own creation. And ultimately, it was all worth it. Sometimes, I received messages from my parents' old friends. These messages include updates about my parents, and about William's new job. They have moved to a smaller town far away and are living a modest life. William has lost trust in the insurance industry and has taken up work in a factory. These updates evoke complex emotions within me. Sympathy, regret, or perhaps a sense of satisfaction that justice has been served? Probably, all of the above. However, I have no regrets. What they did to me was not just neglect or exclusion but theft of my identity. It was a legal matter. Sometimes, I receive letters from my mother. They are filled with words of apology and pleas for reconciliation. We love you. We miss you. Please give us another chance. But behind those words, the same message is always hidden: come back to us, forgive us, and make everything as it was. I stare at the pile of envelopes. Sometimes I open one, but most remain unopened. Months' worth have accumulated. I take them one by one and feed them to the shredder. The past should remain in the past. This is my story. It belongs to no one else. Tomorrow is a new day. A day full of new possibilities. And I am looking forward to it.